I did or I had done. So many of my students make this same mistake, and I get so many questions about these two verb tenses, and I'm sure you make this mistake too. But in this lesson, I'm going to explain clearly and simply when to use the past simple, like I did, and when to use the past perfect, like I had gone, so that you can talk about the past accurately and so people understand you clearly when you tell stories about the past. I'm also going to give you some tips so you know which of these past tenses to use, and tell you some huge common mistakes that you definitely want to avoid. This is a really important lesson. So, are you ready? If you're new here, welcome to English with Greg. I'm Greg, and on this channel, I teach English grammar and British pronunciation so that you can speak clearly and understand native speakers easily. Now, before we look at when to use the past simple, like I did, just make sure you avoid the common mistake, which is confusing the past simple with the present perfect. In other words, I did and I have done. Oh, and before I continue, this lesson has a free PDF worksheet with explanations, examples, and a test with answers. So you can download that by clicking up there or clicking the link in the description. Now, as I was saying, before we look at the past simple, there are two main reasons we use the present perfect, I have done. And they are when the time period that we're talking about has not finished. For example, I have drunk 3 cups of tea today. Today has not finished. I have been to New York 4 times. I'm implying in my life, and my life is a time period that has not finished. She has visited me loads this month. This month hasn't finished. And I haven't seen my brother this year. This year hasn't finished. Now, the second time we use the present perfect is when the action happened in the past, but it has a clear result on the present. For example, I have lost my keys. This is something that happened in the past, but it has a clear result on the present because I don't have my keys, so I can't enter the house. Or, have you heard the news? Again, I'm talking about you hearing the news in the past, but it has a result on the present, which is you know the news now. And one more example, you look terrible. Yeah, I've just seen a ghost. Okay, I've just seen a ghost. That happened in the past, but you look terrible now because you are still terrified of the ghost. Okay, however, we use the past simple, like I did, for completed actions in the past. Now, an easy way to know when to use the past simple is because the time period that you are talking about has finished. Like yesterday, it's finished. Last week, last month, on Monday, last year, when I was younger, when Granny was a little girl. These are all time periods that are well and truly in the past. We cannot change them, and it's gone. Now, let's compare the past simple with the past perfect. The past simple is the most commonly used tense when we talk about the past. And we use it when we list things that we have done, or when we tell stories. For example, this morning I woke up, left the house, went to the butcher's, and came home. Okay, they are all things that happened in the past. I said this morning, I could have said yesterday or last week or that day, but I'm talking about the past and I'm listing a sequence of events. Yesterday, I had a cup of tea with my mum, took the train to London, and visited my friend. Okay, we use the past simple. It's enough because you're just explaining a list of things that you completed in the past. Easy. So now we know that, when do we use the past perfect, like I had gone? Well, we use the past perfect to show that one action happened before another action in the past. And this isn't as simple as it sounds. And this explanation of the past perfect causes one of the main mistakes that people make with this tense. Because remember earlier when I said that when we're listing things, or when we're telling stories or a sequence of events, we use the past simple. Remember? Well, like this morning, I woke up, left the house, went to the butcher's, and came home. Well, one of those actions happened before another action, right? I woke up happened before I left the house. I left the house happened before I went to the butcher's. So, to explain this clearly, let's compare a few sentences. I forgot my wallet. That's simple past. Completed action. My friend lent me some money as I had forgotten my wallet. Okay, here we use the past perfect because I forgot my wallet before my friend lent me some money. Okay, let's have a look at another example. I left the oven on. That's the simple past, completed action. But the house was full of smoke because I had left the oven on. Here, I left the oven on before the house became full of smoke. Let's have a look at another example. She met him. Simple past, completed action. She had met him online a few times before the meeting. Okay, she met him online. That happened before the meeting. So, here is the important thing. We don't just use the past perfect when one thing happened before another thing. This morning, I woke up, left the house, went to the butcher's, and came home. As I said before, I woke up, that happened before I left the house. I left the house, happened before I went to the butcher's. I went to the butcher's, happened before I came home. So let me explain this the clearest way possible. We use the past perfect when one action happened in the past before another action when both actions are related. My friend lent me some money as I had forgotten my wallet. Both actions are related there. He lent me some money because I had forgotten my wallet. They are very closely related. The house was full of smoke because I had left the oven on. Both actions are totally related. I left the oven on. That caused all the smoke in the house. She had met him online a few times before the meeting. Yeah, so she knew him a little bit. Both actions are related. Okay, is that clearer? Now, there are some mistakes that you must avoid when you're using the past perfect tense. But before I tell you about them, just have a look at another few examples of the past perfect so that you can get a better idea of when to use it. I went to Paris in 2008, but I had been there before with my family. Related. He ate at the restaurant last night. He had not eaten there before. Related. We're talking about the same restaurant. They had played football on the beach for 2 hours when they finally stopped for ice cream. Again, the verb played and the verb stopped. Both related. They're both talking about playing football. Okay, the biggest mistakes that you need to avoid. Mistakes that students like you make all the time with the past perfect, and ones that I constantly hear my students inside my membership making. Oh, before I tell you, if this video has been useful for you, please subscribe. If you don't, you'll miss all my future lessons, and I won't be able to help you take your English to an advanced level. And how sad would that be? Right, that would be one huge mistake if you didn't do that. Now let's have a look at the other huge mistakes that people make, specifically with the past perfect tense. Okay, firstly, people think that we use the past perfect for things that were just a really long time ago. No, don't overuse it. Okay, sometimes the past perfect is simply not necessary. Like when Granny was a young lady, that was a long time ago, she had lived near Liverpool and she had worked at a local office. No, just because it was a really long time ago, it doesn't mean that we need to use the past perfect. Also, these are just a list of two things that happened in the past. She lived, she worked. One is not related to the other. It doesn't affect the other. So we just need to use the past simple for both verbs. Now, you might think, but don't these actions come after the verb to be when Granny was a young lady? Well, yes, but the verb to be is not an action verb. We're just telling you when this happened. I could say in the 1940s, but I'm just describing the time when Granny was a young lady. So the correct sentence is simply, when Granny was a young lady, she lived near Liverpool and she worked at a local office. So we're setting the scene. We're explaining the time using the verb to be. And then we're just listing two simple, completed actions that happened in the past. She lived near Liverpool. She worked at a local office. Okay, now look at this example. This example shows just how crucial it is to use the past perfect and use it correctly. When I arrived, he left. This is unclear. Did he leave before you arrived, or after you arrived, or at the same time? What does this mean? It's not clear, but I probably think you saw him for at least a couple of seconds before he left, but it's not totally clear. However, if you say, when I arrived, he had left, okay, this is totally clear. One action happened before another action, another related action. And here it's totally clear that when I arrived, he was not there. I didn't see him. Why? Because before the action, I arrived, he had left. Okay, it happened before I arrived and I didn't see him. Now, at the beginning of this video, I gave you a couple of basic ways to know whether to use the past simple or present perfect, like I did or I have done. But there are some key words that you'll find inside sentences that tell you exactly when you need to use one tense or the other tense. It's like a secret code. And if you use one of these words, you know exactly whether to use the past simple or the present perfect. And I give you all of those key secret words in that video there. So watch that next. There's the PDF from this lesson. So download it, take the test, and let me know how many questions you got right. I'd love to know. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.